Another combat patrol appears.
Spiky Bits.
Welcome back, Hobby Maniacs. I'm Rob Bear from SpikyBits.com, and we are breaking down the new Black Templars Combat Patrol for Warhammer 40k. So this new set is $140, and the Combat Patrols inherently have value. You usually get anywhere from, some of them are 40. The early ones were a little bit low, 40 to 60 value. Now we're seeing $60 to $100 value. So pretty good value, you know, as long as all the models in here are useful to you. Now, this is basically what came in the Black Templars Army box. Well, not everything, but they put in a 5-man squad of intercessors right here, and they swapped out the Redemptor with the Impulsor. But the value is still pretty good here, and we've shown you all this. We've already built it because we did the Black Templar Army box, so we're gonna switch to that video here in a second and show you that, because we don't have to unbox it and build it twice. We kind of already did it. And I'll link you the Impulsor too, because I actually did the unbox and build of this and show you how to actually magnetize it to make all versions of it. And I think we might have had some upgrades too that you can put on it to make it a hardback, and I think we did that. I'll link those in there too, so just look in the descriptions and the comments for all those video links, so you can check those out and kind of see if that's what you're going for the look for your army here. But let's talk about values real quick. Let's jump over to the webs. Go web go. So here's the site, and we actually did a big breakdown on all the combat patrols up to date for the holiday season. But let me scroll down to the Black Templar one, which is right here. Now, this one actually is pretty interesting on the value. It's not the best value one out there. I think the best one's still Blood Angels at like 100 and something. But this one ain't bad because it includes the upgrade sprue kit, which I'm going to show you here in a second and talk about that. The Impulsor, the Marshal, the Crusader Squad, and they actually value 5-man combat patrols at $35, even though half would be 30. That's what they sell them for when they sell them separately, so we'll go with 35 because that's the value that they give, I guess. And then, you know, it's basically $100 of value right there because there's 140 retail. Of course, you can always get your stuff for less, you know, from Dyson, Amazon. Hopefully your local game store can at least discount down to 15%. So solid value in this box. If you missed out on the Army box, or you just want to pick up some more troops or something like that, you just have to kind of figure out what to do with the Marshal there, because chances are you probably don't need 2 of him. Now, jumping back to the Combat Patrol, you actually get this upgrade and transfer kit in the Combat Patrol. It doesn't give you the instructions on what to do with all the stuff, but this is actually in there. So this is an interesting offering from Games Workshop, because I think this is the second time they've done this. The first time they actually did it as something you could buy from them specifically in a box set format. They did have these on web order direct, I believe, in the past. So it's $35. You're gonna get 2 unique sprues that contain all the bits and things for Templar specific war gear, and just things like this multi-melter that can go on Impulsors and such now, and then some of their other specific war gear, and then just some decorative stuff and some things to make some of the Primaris scouts too, if you wanted like extra bits and you didn't get enough in their Crusader squads. I suppose this would be a good value to you. Maybe you don't need more than a couple of these, but it's interesting to see the offering, because originally we saw half a sprue of upgrades, you know, with some shoulder pads and things for $14 from GW, and then they put 2 of those sprues together, like the Blood Angel ones, and they put a set of decals in there for $25, and I guess those sold okay. And now they're coming out with a completely separate kit that's unique, specific to the chapter, and also throwing in just 1 transfer sheet and some instructions for $35. So that's kind of the progression of this product. I kind of feel like they're at the upper limits of things, of, you know, pricing themselves on this particular product here, but I could see where perhaps a lot of Templar players would want at least one of these to upgrade existing models over to Primaris, or just, you know, to kind of pick up and have all the war gear. But if you get the Combat Patrol, it comes with it. And speaking of Combat Patrol, like I said, we've already unboxed all this stuff, so I'm going to kick it back to the Rob of the past, and he is going to show us the unboxing build of all the rest of the miniatures in here. And then if you want to see more on the Impulsor, click any of the links in the comments or in the descriptions, and we'll show you how to actually put that together and magnetize it as well. We're gonna unbox and build some of the Black Templar models from their new army set that just came out in their launch box from Games Workshop. This is $199. Of course, you can always get your hobbies for less from dicehead.com, Amazon, of course, hopefully your local game store as well. the cool thing about this set is that Games Workshop came out the gate and they're like, hey, anybody who wants this can get it. Let's go. And that was cool because a lot of stores were like all in because they need to win. September, October, kind of tough months for retail as we start to slide into the holidays. So and even having this on hand when the rest of the Templar stuff comes out rumored in November probably isn't a bad idea either. But from what I'm hearing, it had mixed results with hobbyists pre-ordering it, and Games Workshop themselves, which I'm about to show you, didn't sell through all of their copies on their own website, and they didn't even have to go to made to order. The queue kicked in for like 11 seconds when I checked it on Saturday, about 2 hours after launch. So I don't think there was a whole lot of high demand for the set, which is kind of sad because there's a lot of innovations for the miniatures, which hopefully trickles down into new marine kits here in the near future that we'll show you when we take a closer look at the sprues and the miniatures themselves. So really stoked. My very first painted army was Black Templars, so I definitely have a little bit of a special place in my heart for this faction. But yeah, it's definitely a lot different these days for sure. Nearly actually over 20 years since I built and painted that army, believe it or not. So let's jump into the box set itself. So it does come with 13 miniatures, 12 of which are new, and of course the new codex, or the limited special edition codex that comes in here, which, remember, that it's a supplement. You still need the Space Marine codex and the data cards too. So we did a whole breakdown on the box set values and basically what happened at launch day. Here you can see that it was still, as of Tuesday, I don't even know what that would have been, the 12th. It was still up for pre-order, normal pre-order with delivery this Saturday, October 16th. I don't know why I said December, but didn't even kick in on the MTOs. They just had their straight regular stock still ready to go from the Games Workshop store. So just kind of keep that in mind. I don't know whether it was demand, whether it was people voting with their hobby dollars, getting it from the local game store because they could actually get stock in. But that being said, local game stores need a win right now, y'all. So here's the breakdown. So Primaris Crusader, we're going to call it $60 based on the Space Marine Intercessors. It's 2 sprues, both identical, and we'll kind of show you some of the... I actually like how they did this sprue. It's very similar to Necromunda, how you get 2 sprues of the same thing, but you can build multiple options and different things. Pretty cool. Redemptor Dreadnought, $65. It's been around since 2017. Nothing really new there. Emperor's Champion, probably going to be $40. Might be $35. Same with Marshall. Put it at 35, probably going to be 40. It's a bigger sprue. Hard to say exactly. Technically, you can have more than one Emperor's Champion, so maybe people will buy multiples. I don't know. The Codex, $30. It's a supplement. Remember, it does have that special art cover, the throwback to the John Blanche artwork from the 3rd edition box set from 1998. And the data cards for $25, putting it at a MSRP of approximately $255, I guess estimated. And estimated value $55. Technically it's $56 because it is not $200 retail value or retail price. It's technically $199, but it's still about the same. You know what I'm saying? So either way, there's still decent value, but when you start looking at it, just like we say in this article, it's basically a Combat Patrol box with the Codex, with the data cards, and no additional value from those 2 items. So it's almost like you're paying $140 plus $30 plus $25. So it's almost like you're paying full retail for the book and the cards, and you're getting a Combat Patrol on top of that. So that's kind of what it feels like. And I just, from the feedback I got from a lot of people, they're just like, yeah, I just don't see the value in here. Like, I'd almost want to wait and either get the upgrade sets for Intercessors or something like that, which, I kind of understand. Recently we did an article basically saying that it might be worth it just to wait until after a launch box comes out, after the meta is established, after you figure out exactly what you need for your army, to try to pick those things up so you're not wasting hobby dollars. And because there's going to be multiple waves of things. Now we're seeing where there's Sword Brethren. Not sure if the Castellan himself is a separate release or if he's part of the Sword Brethren kit. He's definitely not part of the Crusaders that come in here. So it's just really hard to say. So I get it. I get why this might not, maybe Templars aren't popular. Maybe people are voting with their hobby dollars. I don't know. I really don't know why this isn't. I don't have a clear indication of maybe why this didn't sell as well as something else, but it's definitely worth keeping an eye on going into the future, because as Games Workshop tends to string these waves of releases out, you know, people start getting more and more kind of tired of it, I feel like. So, but I do like how the insert box, once you take the sleeve off, has that old, that dope-ass 3rd edition artwork from way back in the day, 1998, that was just so cool and so iconic. You might remember this stand-up, seeing this stand-up. They actually made this into a ginormous 4-foot, 5-foot stand-up that a lot of stores had in their windows and things way back then. But they didn't really do too much else with these. And it's really cool to see that they actually made the Castellan. He's basically a lieutenant, or I suppose you could say he's a marshal. He kind of looks almost like he's firstborn size. So I mean, I guess he could use him as normal duders too if you really wanted to. Not really sure how it's gonna all shake out. I think Vanguards and I think Vanguard vets and Termies are still gonna be kind of the en vogue thing. Although you can give everybody like a 5-up invulnerable. Which doesn't seem too bad either. Once you slide it out, you're gonna see the little inset here with the card pack, all of the sprues, and then it comes with this little art print, which is pretty neat, just to kind of protect the box from the sprues. So you've got the new Codex art, because this is the Codex art. I don't think you get to see this unless it's wrapped around the back. And then this piece of art, which I'm not really sure where it's from, to be quite honest, but still pretty neat. It's a smaller, you know, normally we see like the whole insert like this, but this one's smaller just to protect the book. And then the book's right here, and you get the instructions and everything for all the duders inside. So if you just need the instructions, you just slit this open and just kind of take them out if you need that. Now, instruction-wise, or I guess sprue-wise, very similar to what you might expect. Each dude is going to have build variants that you can build, not necessarily these two here, because I think these are different models. But I really like how they color code this, so it makes it a lot easier to kind of figure out what's going on. 2 sprues, 2 sets of these sprues actually that come together to form the Crusader Squad. Then you get the Marshal, the Emperor's Champion, and the Redemptor Dreadnought, and all the bases form right there. And then you can see, kind of taking a look at the instructions themselves, the Marshal goes together like, well, I guess not necessarily. Like sometimes that front powder or the front greaves or shins, I guess, are closed, and you have to put a separate shin plate on, which you don't have to do with that. The backpack's kind of wonky. Just looking at it, it looks like you have to thread the back. I guess this is a Necron or a skeleton. I haven't actually looked close at it yet. And then he kind of squeezes on, and you got the crux thing that goes down, and then this head kind of threads through it. So I'm not sure how crazy that's going to be. It looks here that you have a choice here of what you want to go with, like the what do they call it now, auto flamer, because it's on an auto rifle. It's a new weapon type, I suppose. It's not an actual combi flamer because this isn't a bolter. So I guess this is the first instance of combi weapons, but now they're called auto whatever it is, auto plasma, which I think the Marshal has an auto, yeah, the Marshal has an auto plasma or an auto flamer is what they're calling it. And then it looks like it does this whole sandwich, you know, sandwich card thing, clam pack sort of thing, where you put the front goes into the center and then the back, and it really makes for a dynamic, kind of flowy looking robe. You know, a lot of people talk shit about Games Workshop. We like to hold them to account, not necessarily talk shit, but they still have some of the best designed and best gorgeous, flawlessly executed in a lot of cases, miniatures in the world. And this, just looking at this, I'm just like, yep, they win again. Like, and you know, I love the miniatures. The stuff's gorgeous. The design, it's just some of the business practices, as we talked about, can be a little, let's just call it egregious at times. I like this Marshal because he's very similar to the old Primaris Captain, which technically this is a Captain in the Codex. You can swap them out. The Captain becomes the Marshal and the Castellan becomes the Lieutenant. Because he looks very similar to the limited edition Space Marine Captain that came in that old 3rd edition box set from 1998. It had a sticker on it, and he had a combi weapon, and apparently I'm getting a message on Slack, so I need to turn down my volume. But that definitely kind of is a huge throwback for me personally, because I remember this is basically the Primaris version of that unnamed limited edition Captain, because he came with that axe. I don't think he had a sword variant. He definitely came with that axe. And he had a combi. I think he had a combi flamer at the time. This little ribbon back here looks like it could be a tad bit problematic because they don't exactly tell you where to. I always hate that when they show you and they don't spin it around and show you exactly where it goes. Choice of head, very cool. The Emperor's Champion, again, it's got that dynamic flowing like posture and fluidity to it because he's just doing his thing, and once you start attaching all the pieces to it, it doesn't look like much. Like what it is, kind of looks like it's an incorporeal form just kind of forming and then going together, and then eventually you have this head and the wreath, the laurels go on it, and then he's of course holding his little what was that, crux or rosarius. I guess he doesn't have a rosarius because he's not a chaplain, but and then his shoulder pads go on, and then the backpack goes on right there. So something I did want to mention, because I did, you know, paint up an army of these guys way back in the day, and I realized very early on that painting white over black is you know, a tad bit time consuming. So what I recommend is, if you have the option to have the separate shoulder pads, you know, do some double-sided tape, stick them down a piece of cardboard or, you know, a paint stirrer or something like that, spray those white, whether you're airbrushing it, whether you're hitting it with a rattle can or something like that, spray those white, and then do the lips in black, like the edging in black around it, instead of spraying it black and trying to do all the white in the middle, because white is streaky. It's very hard to work with sometimes with the brush, and you'll just save yourself a lot of hassle if you do it that way and then glue them on separately. And I think for the most part, a lot of these shoulder pads are separate, but let's just kind of keep digging in and take a look at it. The Crusader Squad, again, it's going to have that crazy like computer slices and things, but you can pick the poses. Like I like this one personally, but you can go with choice of variant weapon here. It looks like he has an axe, and I think that's just, is that an auto flamer? No, that's just the new auto pistol version of the flamer. I forget what they call it. I'll have to look that one up, but you can go with that, and they show you how to build it, or it's just the auto bolt pistol, heavy bolt pistol, I think they call it. And then you've got all this stuff here, so you can just go with either an auto bolter or the close combat Astartes chainsword thing, and it's basically the same dude. It's just kind of twisted. So I really like that. So you can just kind of pick your path right here. This guy's drawing a sword, which is pretty neat. Or you can have him already, you know, have drawn it right here with an empty sheath, or just kind of lurking with the at the ready sort of right there, which is kind of neat. And then you've got all the pads are separate, so it's super easy to prime those white and edge them. All the parts here, and I'm going to show you something about they don't call this out, I don't think. No, they don't call it out. I don't know if they call it out at any point in here, but all of this stuff is actually numbered, believe it or not. From the backs of the torsos, looking at the sprues earlier, and even the insides of this, and even this piece right here is actually numbered, and I'll show you here in a second. So it used to be that you couldn't go through and clip off all the parts because you wouldn't know what they matched up to, but now in theory you would be able to find them. There's a Power Fist variant over here on this guy too, depending on how you want to do it. The Pyro Blaster, or the Auto Bolter, or just a close combat weapon set up there, and then they show you all of them that you can make. And then you flip it to the neophytes, and the neophytes are actually all, or the Primaris neophytes, are very similar. Like those two are the same, and those two are the same, because the sprues are mirrored. And the only thing that changes is how you arm them and how you kind of make them look, and what you know, heads you give them right there. But for the most part, and especially like you kind of want to switch it up, like if you have a dude with, yeah, it just depends on how you want to pose them. You can switch them up, but they are literally the same pieces right there. You just want to make sure that you do the tops a little bit different. We're not going to get into the Redemptor Dreadnought. I probably at some point need to do a magnetization video. It's very easy to do for these, to magnetize them. You could probably just kind of look at it and figure it out yourself. But I do probably need to do one. We're not going to really talk about that. And you get to the back, and they give you some paint coloring guides. Now, let's take a look at the sprues real quick and get these built. This is the Crusader sprue that you're going to get 2 exact copies. I think it's laid out like this exactly in the book. Now, they're not easy to build. They are easy-ish to build. There's no real stubs or holes or slots or anything. So it's kind of like the old school kind of way to put these together. But what I wanted to show you, there you go. There's one that might be easy to see. Let's get some light in there. If you can see inside that chest right there, there's a 1, and over here there's a 3. 1, and then that right there, 1, and then these legs right here, 1,
I don't know what that is. Upside down 1. So you can clip these out, and they are relatively easy to kind of keep together. There isn't one for the, that's 5. There isn't some for the backpacks, because I guess the backpacks and the shoulder pads are ubiquitous and they can kind of all go together. But yeah, so just very easy. I think that's the first time we've seen that. It's definitely not on normal Primaris. So, you know, like I say, people want to talk mess about GW, but when it comes to design and implementation and hiding mold lines and dynamic posing and all of those things right there, they kind of win. Another thing I kind of wanted to point out was Emperor's Champion versus Marshall here. So when we've seen a lot of these style sprues go for $40, $45 and a lot of these go for $35, but you can buy multiple, so it's really kind of hard to say what this is going to end up going for. Now, this doesn't have any of those cool numbers or anything because, I mean, this is all the parts, like, don't lose them. But they've got the embossed shoulder pads and everything like that. And like I said, just hit those with a little bit of white primer, and then you can kind of go in there and kind of pick out all the details and stuff. Even better now, because we didn't have embossed shoulder pads back in the day. I had to use transfers, which are pretty easy to do, especially for the Templars, because you could just slice the corners kind of in a X sort of pattern, and you were able to kind of slide those on over the curves, because putting them on over curves sometimes can be a little rough. And then here's the Marshall himself, and you can see the auto flamer or the plasma pistol. Oh, he doesn't have that. I thought he had an option for a auto plasma, but nope, it looks like plasma pistol or auto flamer. Okay, well, there you go. And then this, I guess we'll see when it goes together. So is that a Necron? I think that is a Necron. Looks like a Necron from here, doesn't it? And he's got the little bit of terrain, and then the two different, not a helmeted head. And these don't look like they slot in or peg in either, so those are just going to get glued straight in. You're not going to really be able to switch them out afterwards there. And I think that's it for the sprues, because we're not going to really go over the Redemptor. Okay, so these went together pretty good for the most part, and like I said, they are just so full of posability and dynamic flair to them that it's just kind of crazy. Now, this guy's on a 40 mil. The rest of the Crusaders are on 32s. I don't know exactly why, but that's just the way it is. And then the Primaris Neophytes themselves, which are basically as big as a normal Firstborn Marine now, are on 28 millimeters. So they've upped the game. I guess 25 millimeter base doesn't exist anymore. It's been retconned, y'all. Doesn't exist, okay? So, I mean, posing-wise, just kind of crazy once you start looking at it and looking at all that great detail all around it. Now, we took a little, you can kind of see some of the mold lines and some of the things like that. They even put wear on the edges of these capes, because obviously these are old and, you know, been around the block for a little bit. So it's really cool to see that styling there. And then he's got the bolter or his sidearm right back there. And then this crazy sensor thingy that glues on separate. The backpacks are all separate, and then you can put whatever toppers on there you want, like these, well, that's crazy blurry, like these candles or what have you. And then this guy's just like a basic initiate, just doing his thing. Very cool. And then when you start comparing it to something like a normal intercessor, they're about the same size, give or take, for sure. Oh, and here's a pyrocaster. So these guys are all pretty cool. Like kind of interesting look to him. He's just kind of sitting back and going foosh. But yeah, all the backpacks are the same. And like I said, just look for those numbers in the torso areas. And then how do these guys, how do these guys compare to the Neophytes? Well, we've got cat hair, everything. Well, pretty close. Like I said, they're basically firstborn size. And I mean, the chainswords are basically the size of a normal Primaris, or a normal firstborn chainsword. There's how he is to an intercessor. So all those guys are great, and they look really cool. And then this is the difference, like I said. So we've got this dude with a bolter. They're kind of, like I said, the poses are a little bit static. You kind of got to get that motion and that dynamicism with the upper torso positioning and things like that. Because I think for their first kind of run of these new scouts, these Primaris scouts, this was kind of a test bed. And I don't want to say they didn't nail it, but there's definitely room for improvement, I suppose. Emperor's Champion is just dope. Like, he's got a lot of blank area that you can do some wet blending. You can put some heraldry on, just kind of show off your skills there, do some glow effects and things up here. But either way, super dope model. And you know, I guess this is the third iteration of the Emperor's Champion. Technically fourth, I guess, if you count Sigismund from Horus Heresy. So very, very cool miniature in general. And then you've got the Marshal here. Didn't give him the axe, gave him the power sword because it wasn't something that he ever came with. Kind of doing the, hey everybody, follow me, I'm the boss man, let's go. And wow, pretty cool, huh? You can see there's still a lot of sprues and bits left on there. Obviously we're going pretty fast to get this recorded for you, but nothing that you couldn't remove yourself. Even we can go back after the fact and kind of remove things there. I got these new little blades here that actually flex, so you can trim sprue down and mold lines and things. I haven't tried them out yet, but something like that, like this, might be perfect for that, like getting in the weird spots. Always wear eye protection because you don't want those things springing off into your eyeballs. Oh, believe me, that would definitely hurt. So overall, I think it's dope models for sure. Just, you know, maybe not as many early adopters as Games Workshop would have liked, but I think it's good things precedent wise for design and implementation of future miniatures on the Primaris/Space Marine side. Perhaps faction miniatures for everybody else out there, because we know they're still making upgrade kits in conjunction with the Black Templars, Crusader squads, which are dedicated, the Sword Brethren, which are dedicated. So in theory, we could still get both because we have upgrade sprues already for a lot of other things. So why not some dedicated new units for things, again, like Blood Angels or the Unforgiven or White Scars, Fists, because that's 2 chapters with 1 stone right there, etc., etc., etc. So back to the future. I always wanted to say that. Here we are. So hopefully you enjoyed our unboxing build of actually the Black Templar Combat Patrol, not the army box that we just showed you for the past few minutes, but this is actually about the Combat Patrol. But hey, the army box is still available if you're watching this currently and it's, you know, the end of 2021. You can still find those army boxes out there. So if you feel like that's a better value for you, go ahead and scoop that up. They are out there. We'll probably put some links in the description and comments as well. So that's it for this one. Thank you very much for watching our unboxing build of the Black Templars Combat Patrol for Warhammer 40k. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you can be the very first to like and comment on all our videos. If you liked that video feature, consider supporting us over at patreon.com and get back in the mail each month a miniature crate full of some of the stuff we review here, as well as some of the top 3D artist designs out there too, to help support what they're doing. Plus discount coupon codes from some of those same manufacturers. They're yours to keep, whether you cancel or stay on. It's totally up to you. Obviously, we want to keep you as happy as possible. So check it out over at patreon.com/spikybits.